All right, I'm excited to bring you this last episode, episode 9 of Empty by Eric Ruggles. The episode is called Empty as well, and we're going to find out in the ending, and it is a good ending. Um, if you've missed my first 8 episodes, you can go to my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/@Eric Ruggles, and you can go to the playlist of Empty Podcast, and you can watch the first 8 episodes, or you can listen to them in the car, listen to them while you're at work, whatever you want to do. I just hope you're enjoying the story that I've brought you. Episode 9 tonight, and while you're on the YouTube, my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I appreciate all the subscribers I have, and I'm very thankful, hoping that you guys have been enjoying my podcast of episode 1. So let's go to season 9. Where we left off is basically Rachel, Charles, and Raiden are driving to Drew Barnes' house. They called Drew, asked him for his help. What they needed was his computer skills. He's pretty good with the computer, a hacker, so to speak. And Drew said he would help them. So when they got there, Raiden had to spill the beans about his powers, or he felt Drew would not believe what was going on. So he did that, showed him a few things, a few tricks, and Drew ended up believing. So Drew found the lighthouse at Ipswich Bay, in which his mother was being held captive by Creo and Darren. And he also found out a loophole to kind of end Creo's life. He found out that a lunar eclipse takes away the powers of witches and warlocks, but it's about a 30-minute window that they have, that they lose their power. All right? And we explained all that in the last episode, episode 8. And so what they're doing now is they're hopping in Raiden's car. They're going up I-95 north. All right? And they are going to get to the lighthouse and try and save Raiden's mother. So this is where we left off. As they get closer, Drew and Rachel held back a little to allow Raiden and Charles to go in first. The lunar eclipse started. As Raiden pushed open the lighthouse door, and as the door swung open, there stood Creo. He was with Raiden's mother, tied to a chair. Raiden stood there, 12 feet from Creo. Raiden knew he was powerless because of the eclipse, but so was Creo. Creo started to explain that he wanted all the powers, and it was Raiden's time to die. Raiden chuckled a little bit and proceeded to walk toward Creo. Creo said, "One blast from me, and it will knock you on your ass." Raiden knew he had no powers at this time because the lunar eclipse was in effect. So Raiden replied, "I'm just going to plain kick your ass," and ran toward Creo and landed a hard right to Creo's jaw. Creo, dazed a little, got up and tried his powers, but they did not work. He was stunned. He was confused. And Raiden said, "You have no powers during the lunar eclipse," and he began to fight Creo. The fight went to the ground, which favored Raiden. Raiden had him in a rear naked choke, and Charles ran over to them. While Raiden controlled Creo, Charles looked for Creo's stone. He began searching Creo and then asked, "Where's the stone?" Creo laughed and gagging, "You'll never get my stone." And like all evil people, they brag about how smart they are. And he blurted out his secret. Creo, between grasps, explained, "I have my stone implanted under my ribs, and you will never get to it." Creo then tussled some more as a shot rang out from above, and Darren's bullet hit Charles, staggering him to the ground. Creo and Raiden continued to wrestle, even with the chokehold Raiden had on Creo. Another shot rang out, and this one hit Raiden, loosening his grip. Now the bullets would not kill Charles and Raiden. Only crushing the stone would do that. So both were still alive and would shortly recover from the bullet wounds. With the loosened grip, Creo took advantage of position with Raiden and pinned Raiden to the ground. Rachel and Drew heard the shots and entered the lighthouse. Rachel saw Raiden's mother tied in a chair, and she started toward her to free her and then escape. Drew looked for Darren, and then another shot rang out from above. This time, the bullet projected through Rachel's skull, and she fell to her death instantly in a pool of her own blood. The horror from what happened set in on Raiden, and he became crazy with anger. Another shot rang out, and it pierced the heart of Raiden's mother, killing her instantly as she slumped over in her chair. Drew heard the shots, and his eyes directed to where he heard the shot come from, and he saw the rifle barrel peeking over the balcony ledge upstairs. So Drew proceeded to head up the stairs to stop Darren. During Creo's and Raiden's tussle on the ground, the family stone of Raiden came out. It came out of Raiden's pocket and on the ground. Charles, gaining his composure, went to grab the stone, and another shot rang out, hitting the stone, splitting it in half. It did not shatter the stone. It was such a precise shot, it just split the stone. Immediately, another shot rang out, and this time it shattered one of the halves of the stone. Drew finally got to Darren and surprised him, and they began to struggle on the balcony above. The shattered stone half began to take effect. It was Charles' half. Charles began to disintegrate into dust and was gone, for it was his half of the stone that was shattered by the second shot on the stone halves. Raiden needed to salvage the other half and not let Creo get to it. Creo was angered, shouting at Darren, "You fool! I need to crush the stone. Only I can crush it to gain the powers." Darren couldn't gain any powers because he was not a warlock, so it would not be good if he crushed it, and Creo would lose a shot at gaining the powers from Charles. Now all he had left was the powers from Raiden. So he demanded Darren not to shoot at the stone again, so that Creo could crush the stone and gain the powers of Raiden. As Creo was shouting and not focused on Raiden, Raiden saw the moonlight from the window behind Creo. He knew the eclipse was over. Powers were back, unknown to Creo at this time. Darren and Drew continued to struggle, and the two began rolling uncontrollably toward the edge of the balcony. The fight took them over the edge of the balcony, killing them both instantly when they fell. During the struggle of Drew and Darren, the gun had fell to the ground near Raiden and Creo. The distraction of Darren and Drew gave Raiden a small window to react. He wrestled Creo off of him and rolled over to grab the last half of his family stone. And without hesitation, Raiden stuck out his hand and telepathically began to move Creo's stone out from beneath his ribs and body. There was an explosion of blood, skin, and even some bone as Creo's stone came flying toward the outreached hand of Raiden. The ripping of the stone from Creo's body brought Creo to his knees. Raiden, with no smart-ass lines, no monologuing, and no regret, saw the rifle and grabbed it. He laid Creo's stone on the ground and shot it point blank, shattering the stone into millions of pieces of dust. Raiden then watched as Creo fell to the ground and disintegrated away into dust. Raiden then fell to the ground as Creo's powers formed a ball of energy and shot into Raiden. Raiden had received Creo's powers. Raiden then laid there and exhausted, but it was not over yet. The lighthouse was a killing ground for witches and warlocks, and the spirits began to appear to Raiden. The spirits, one by one, flew into the body of Raiden, and all the powers those witches and warlocks had were now Raiden's. Each spirit would rock Raiden's body as one by one they entered. Before the last spirit penetrated Raiden's chest, it spoke and said, "You now have all the powers from the witches and warlocks murdered here at the lighthouse in Ipswich Bay. It is our gift to you, the last of our kind." Raiden laid there exhausted. He had countless powers such as regenerating, transporting, spells, invisibility, mind control, etc. They were all his. The powers he gained made him a very dangerous weapon, one could say almost indestructible. Raiden finally sat up. He looked at his dead mother and girlfriend. He turned and saw Drew's guts on the ground, and of course, his father was gone. Raiden grabbed the half of the stone left and decided it would be smart to implant it inside his body to keep it safe. He would do that first thing after he got out of there. Everyone close to him was gone. He felt empty, like nothing mattered anymore. But Raiden took a deep breath and realized he had great powers, a gift, and he could fill his emptiness by avenging all evil in the world. So Raiden said to himself, I guess the world has a new superhero, and walked out the door to face his new future. There's the blood scene, and then the door. So hopefully you've enjoyed episode 9. That's the ending of my first season. Raiden did survive it, but nobody else did. So now Raiden has to figure out what he's going to do. And that's where we pick up in season 2. And I hope you join me for season 2. I will put out probably some videos telling you when it's going to be coming out as it gets closer. But I'm looking to project it around Thanksgiving. Pretty close to done, and I'm pretty excited about this new one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And thank you very much for tuning in.